Thank you to everyone who joined for yesterday's webinar as we talked with Ashley Brandau on some of the impact of tariffs and really tried to bring things that people could take away and actually act on as we try and navigate this crazy environment today. And so want to talk a little bit about at least some of the things that I learned that I think would be really helpful to different brands. Here are a couple of my takeaways of things at least that I had learned that she was seeing that I thought were really helpful. So the first one is really on the FOB and like documentation, right? So one of the things that she mentioned as being super actionable is taking a look at those documents, understanding each of the line items in there, right? And then being able to pull out and say, okay, maybe this isn't actually like material cost of goods, right? Maybe there are some design things in there. Can we get invoiced for those separately? Different molds, right? Things that may not necessarily be subject to some of the taxes and the tariffs. And so really taking a close look at those and working with the factory, right? And saying, hey, can you send us a separate invoice for this piece? And seeing some actual meaningful cost savings. Because sometimes, like without paying close attention, a lot of those costs are getting lumped into maybe a single line item. How can those be broken out? And again, so to save on the cost of goods sold and really on some of these tariffs. The second thing actually that's really interesting to me historically, right, is that if you want something quickly, you have to air freight it, right? Like you have to get it on a plane and it's really expensive, but it's going to come really quickly versus boats, right? Which used to take, it could be like 60 to 90 days. Like it could be a really long time. One of the new developments that she mentioned that I actually had not been aware of, maybe some of you guys already are, fast boats, which is like a silly thing to say, but like these boats are getting here in a fraction of the time from China over to LA. So they are obviously much more cost efficient than freight, but get you there, get the materials there in a much shorter time span, right? So if you're thinking about what's my inventory in transit, right, always wanting to try and shrink that amount so that you can be closer to the actual demand. The other thing that she talked about that I know even in different business school classes, right, but like talking about what it actually means in terms of responsive supply chain. So is there a world, like understanding the costs and benefits of saying, hey, maybe we'll have all of the raw materials here, but before we actually take the raw material and put it into a shirt, a dress, a skirt, right? Whatever that is, maybe we're only going to make a portion of that so that we can put the product page up, we can start selling it, we can understand demand before we go and say, okay, we're going to use all of this raw material to make all of these things that may or may not sell. Again, just like things that I learned that I thought were really interesting. So just appreciate everybody and thanks everyone for joining.